Good evening. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the September 26th regular meeting of the East Lansing Board of Education. Before I get started, Aaron, is there any way to dim these lights as if we don't feel spotlighted enough? I don't know if you can, but we'd appreciate it. Could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Adiego?
Here.
Ms. Biddle?
Here.
Ms. Kraus?
Here.
Dr. Rich Kaplowitz?
Here.
Mr. Brookover?
Here.
Ms. Kuhnmensch? Here. Mr. Todd?
Here.
Dr. Chapin?
Here.
Thanks, Gail. Can we have a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
I'd like to move to amend the agenda to put action item B as action item A. That would be the Teamsters tentative agreement as the first action item. I think that would be a courtesy to them.
So you're moving to approve with one change to the
Right.
agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other changes?
Yes, I'd like to move that we also amend the agenda to add after that item, an item which I would then call, if that's going to become number A, then I'd like a number B, which would be alternative reconfiguration proposal, number 1. And then add a number C, which would be alternative proposal, reconfiguration proposal number 2. Both of those then to occur before what's currently designated as A, quote, preliminary qualification approval for K through 8 facilities.
Can you restate that one more time, please, George? B would be alternative reconfiguration proposal,
Number 1.
number 1.
And C would be alternative reconfiguration proposal number 2.
Okay. And number 2. And I presume then the item which is currently A, the preliminary qualification approval, would then be D,
Correct.
and then the religious calendar would then be E.
Correct.
Okay? Are there any other changes or amendments to the agenda tonight? Okay?
Now, if I could get a second
I'll
to that
second.
amendment,
Oh, I guess I can't
and if I could
second.
just speak to it briefly. The reason I'm suggesting that is because there's been some public comment that there hasn't been enough dialogue at the board table. And I think that one of the difficulties in this process, even though it's been a long process, is that the people out there really haven't had the opportunity to hear the board talk about this stuff among each other. It seemed to me upon reflection that the last time we had a proposal that ends up as preliminary qualification approval for K through 8 facilities, that a motion was made perhaps for the purpose of discussion purposes. I'm not sure the maker of the motion really made that clear, but it seems to me, just from sort of reading the tea leaves with the school board the last couple of weeks, that everybody in the school board feels some need to talk some of this stuff through. So rather than just proceed ahead with the original motion that we had a couple of weeks ago, I'm suggesting we have a couple other proposals to talk through and vote on before we get to the one that we talked about before. And so it's a means to generate some discussion among board members, and frankly, to give board members some alternatives before they move ahead with this step that the majority has talked about here for a couple of weeks. So that's the rationale.
Sure, I understand. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, but I thought perhaps.
Well, I can't second. I think I amended one, so I probably
Oh,
can't
okay.
second it.
That's okay.
I'll second.
Sounds fair to me, George. Anything else before we vote on the agenda with, you're bulking this into 2, or it doesn't matter, with all of the amendments? Okay? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the approval of minutes. In your packet, you have September 12th, 2011 regular meeting minutes, September 15th, 2011 minutes, and September 19 special meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any corrections or changes? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Yes, the superintendent's report is located on your table next to your agenda. And before we begin, again, we said this a couple of, several meetings ago, a month or 6 weeks ago, that we have moved to the middle school auditorium so that we could accommodate what we anticipated would be larger crowds. I know I speak on behalf of the board and certainly myself. We're not at all comfortable with this sort of elevated position and the location of the public comment, but we are more comfortable with accommodating all of you as comfortably as possible, so that's the compromise. So before we begin tonight, let me say that again. That's been lost in the shuffle over the last few meetings. A couple of dates for you in terms of upcoming dates on your calendar. Homecoming is Friday at East Lansing High School, Friday, September 30th, and I know the high school is busily preparing for that, among many other things. Fall Student Membership Day has been adjusted this year. It's now back a week. It's on Wednesday, October 5th. And as I was reminded by the media today, our Fall Membership Day now counts for 90% of our membership, or 90% of our foundation allowance, versus this old 75-25 formula that was in place, along with an 80-20 formula that was in place as well. So anyway, some changes to our Fall Student Membership Day, and week of October 24th, parent-teacher conferences come up. I'd like to introduce several people that are with us tonight as good resources to the Board of Education and in turn the community. We have representatives from Troon Law Firm tonight, Beverly Bonning and Chris Imarino. Thank you very much for being with us. R.J. Naughton from Stoddard and Barch, Public Finance Consultants. Of course, Ted Reiskamp from Clark, and Jennifer Boswinkle from Ted Reiskamp from Clark Construction, and Jennifer Boswinkle from Tower Pinkster. We thank you very much for being with us. If the board has questions of these resources as the conversation evolves tonight, certainly feel free to call on our resources. These are resources for the board, and we'll ask that we channel questions through the board, and we thank you all for being with us. Attached to my report tonight are several items. The cover letter for tonight's agenda, which was way later than it normally was sent out. My apologies for that. Exhibit A from September 9th, referenced earlier by Mr. Brookover. The 9 points from September 9th, a couple of people asked for that today. An updated spreadsheet from Clark Construction based on some input from several board members, and a letter to the high school parents from Chief of Police Liebler, and some additional information that went out to our high school community this week regarding Homecoming and Spirit Week, acknowledging many of the traditions have been in place for a long time, but there has also been a practice in the past referred to as egg wars, and this was ample communication from the chief of police about her position and the school's position that we do not condone that, always concerned about injuries and trying to be a little more communicative this year in terms of communicating our concerns, and we would ask parent involvement in assisting with us, assisting the school district with that, ensuring that we have a real positive week this week leading up to homecoming on Friday. So those attachments, just a couple of quick remarks for me. My report's fairly simple tonight, but I would like to take an opportunity to take a moment to thank everyone who has taken time to share comments and opinions with the Board of Education over the past 2 years, really, but especially so in the past 2 months as it relates to the K-8 facilities discussion. Although we have experienced several marathon public comment sessions and a wide variety of opinions, we have also experienced a strong dose of one of East Lansing's best qualities,